Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Dr. KK's Heart Foundation of India, I'm delighted to welcome you to the 77th weekly webinar. This is something that Dr. KK had started quite some time ago. He was a very passionate teacher, and he was very close to the entire school fraternity. And this is a platform where we get different schools, different teachers, and principals together. And the whole idea is to discuss different themes around One Health and also inculcate good habits in the children, talk about things which are of larger interest to all the young ones so that they grow up to be better human beings. The topic for today's session is building communication skills. Without further ado, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to our co-host for today, Mrs. Ruchika, Vice Principal, Amrita Vidyalayam, New Delhi, Dr. Sarah Jacob, Principal, LK International Business School, Bhavana, Delhi, and Mrs. Anju Mehrotra, Principal, Kalka Public School, Alaknanda. I would now welcome Mrs. Ruchika Chaudhary to give the welcome address. Over to you, Ruchika ma'am. Ruchika ma'am, can you hear us? Yeah, hi Ruchika ma'am. I think you got dropped for a second. Would you want to give your welcome address?
Yeah. May I start?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon to one and all. Om Namah Shivaya. On behalf of our Revered Principal Ma'am Ramcharani Chinmay Amrita Chaitanya ji and the entire fraternity of Amrita Vidyalayam, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for giving us the privilege to host this brilliant event. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to each and every one of you for being here with us today. I'm immensely pleased to welcome you all on the virtual platform for this intense and important initiative by the Heart Care Foundation of India. John Powell says, and I quote, "Communication works who work at it. Communication is both an art and a science." It's a common adage that effective communication is an essential part in the overall development of a child. Becoming a successful communicator is an achievement of a lifetime. Good communication skills facilitate intellectual, physiological, and social functioning. It also influences most of the aspects of one's life. Amrita Vidyalayam demonstrates its commitment to every child by connecting families and educators with eminent experts time and again to cater to them significant opportunities of grooming their personality. With this relevant objective on mind, today's workshop has been organized. The cornerstone of today's workshop is to enable the learners comprehend the value of effective communication skills, how one can upgrade, shed inhibitions, build and improve self-image, enhance awareness towards one's role in the society. The barriers in communication are some of the other vital objectives of the session. And to preside over the effective session, we have Ms. Kamal Patel and Ms. Naina Agrawal Ahuja, who will provide us the essential information and resources we require in today's scenario. Mrs. Kamal Patel has demonstrated a wide history of working in the field of education with mastery in parenting skills, coaching, early childhood guidance, etiquette, grooming, soft skill training, and building communication skills. Her efforts in this field are exemplary. We welcome you, ma'am. Mrs. Naina Ahuja is a trustee of the Heart Care Foundation of India and the founder of Talking Point Communications. She struck with the apparatus and serves to be a true inspiration from all of us. Her contribution in the field of public relations is extraordinary and motivates the young generation to aspire and achieve. I'm deeply honored to be associated with eminent personalities like Ms. Naina Agrawal Ahuja, Dr. Sarah Jacob, Principal, LK International School, Bhavana, Delhi, and Mrs. Anju Mehrotra, Principal, Kalka Public School, Alaknanda. I extend my sincere gratitude to these distinguished dignitaries for their partnership and critical conversation. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya, and over to Nena.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Can I please invite Dr. Sarah Jacob to please give her address?
Good evening, everyone. It's my privilege to be part of Healthcare Foundation of India. Dr. K.K. Agarwal, a doctor with a golden heart, as a cardiologist and head of Healthcare Foundation of India. Dr. Agarwal was wavering in his mission of making quality healthcare available to the masses, especially economically weaker sections of the society. Even during the pandemic, he worked relentlessly to reach out to over 100 million people through digital mode. His counseling sessions, videos, and educational programs kept all of us motivated and positive throughout. Dr. K.K. Agarwal is physically no more with us, but his spirit of spreading awareness and positivity, irrespective of the situation, is something we all need to imbibe. Dr. Agarwal was a torch bearer for the society in true sense, who lit the lives of millions through his life, and now his daughter, Mrs. Naina Agrawal Ahuja, carrying forward his legacy. Mrs. Naina Agrawal Ahuja is a trustee of Dr. Agarwal's Healthcare Foundation of India and the founder of Talking Point Communications, a leading integrated PR and communications agency in India, serving clients across the domains of startups, healthcare, technology, education, social, lifestyle, etc. The seeds of Talking Point Communication were sown by Naina Agrawal in the year 2014 with one employee and one client, which have now mushroomed into a strong team. She is a true example of women empowerment. Communication is an important skill for every individual to master. It is one of the most basic and essential part of every human being. It depends on our body language, eye contact, response, and so many other things. Our today's speaker is Mrs. Kamal Patel is here, who will elaborate building communication skills among students, especially. Kamal Patel has been an early educator since 1985. Her formidable experience of over 3 decades makes her an exceptional parenting coach and child behavior guide. Her guidance has helped numerous young parents develop effective parenting practices and make informed decisions regarding their children. Her strength lies in her ability to help parents realize practical approaches to manage their child behavior. We all welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And now the eminent educationist and Ruchika Chaudhary, ma'am, as well as Dr. Anju Mehrotra. It's my privilege and honor to welcome all distinguished educators on this auspicious platform. And Mrs. Anju Mehrotra, Principal of Kalka Public School. She has always believed in bringing out the hidden potential and that we are the creator of our own life. Over to you, Dr. Anju Mehrotra.
Namaskar. Namaskar, everyone. It's a post-lunch session, but I'm sure, with the vibrance around, and especially at Dr. Agarwal's platform, we will be able to wake everybody up, and there's going to be a lot of learning happening over here. So with fond memories of Dr. Agarwal, who was an institution in itself, right? And my heartiest congratulations to Dr. Naina also, continuing with that kind of legacy. And it was very difficult to believe, that Dr. K.K. Agarwal was not there with us, physically, but he was really a mentor. He would always be remembered as a philanthropist, which has really a kind of, he ignited all of us. He really empowered all of us all the time, especially during this pandemic period. So his fond memories would always remain with us, and we are going to cherish for all the time. But hats off to Nana also, carrying on and continuing with that legacy. And I wish her all the very best, that she must continue, to empower and ignite, I must say, to everyone, not just the teaching fraternity, but to everyone in the society. Dear friends, today we are here, we are going to listen to Dr. Kamal Patel, of course, our moderator, a very, very effective moderator, Dr. Naina. She's going to introduce Kamalji to all of us. But one thing I would like to say, that it is all about words. It's all about shabd. It's all about communication, that we all are here and we are able to communicate with each other, and how effective it is going to be. That's what we are going to listen, from Dr. Kamal Patel. And it's, again, it's something, effective communication skills, that is really going to make a lot of difference. So what we need to understand is that communication is a two-way process. What we receive and what we give, that's how, we are going to communicate with each other, and we are going to build relationships with each other. So one thing I would like to say, that language, which is our window to the world, it's a lifestyle and it is a culture. So language harnesses our inherent ability, to form enduring bonds with each other. That's very important. Strong language skills, strong communication skills, they are an asset, and that will promote a lifetime of effective communication. So this is something what we are here, to learn from Dr. Kamal Patel. Just one, last point which I would like to raise, and then over to Dr. Naina. This is what shabd, it's shabd, the word, which is very important, because the collection of the sum of these words only, that makes the sentence, and that only is the form of communication. This is how we communicate with each other. So शब्द रचे जाते हैं, शब्द गढ़े जाते हैं, शब्द मढ़े जाते हैं, शब्द लिखे जाते हैं, शब्द पढ़े जाते हैं, शब्द बोले जाते हैं, शब्द तोले जाते हैं, शब्द टटोले जाते हैं, शब्द खंगोले भी जाते हैं, और इस प्रकार शब्द बनते हैं, शब्द संवरते हैं, शब्द सुधरते हैं, निखरते हैं, हंसाते हैं, मनाते हैं, रुलाते हैं, मुस्कुराते हैं, रुलाते भी हैं, कभी कभी खिलखिलाते हैं, गुदगुदाते भी हैं, और शब्द मुखर हो जाते हैं, शब्द प्रखर हो जाते हैं, शब्द मधुर भी हो जाते हैं। इतना होने के बाद भी शब्द चुभते हैं, बिकते हैं, रूठते हैं, घाव देते हैं, ताव देते हैं, लड़ते हैं, बिगड़ते हैं, झगड़ते हैं, बिखरते हैं, सहरते हैं, परंतु फिर भी शब्द कभी मरते नहीं, बिना सोचे बोले नहीं। शब्दों को मान दें, सम्मान दें, ध्यान दें, पहचान दें, उड़ान दें, आत्मसम्मान दें, और उनसे उनकी बात करें, शब्दों का आविष्कार करें, गहन सार्थक विचार करें, क्योंकि शब्द अनमोल हैं, जुबान से निकले बोल हैं, शब्दों में धार होती है, शब्दों की महिमा अपार होती है, शब्दों का विशाल भंडार होता है, और सच तो यह है कि शब्दों का भी अपना एक संसार होता है. So with these words only, I just end up here. Over to Dr. Naina, and we are very eager to listen to Dr. Kamal Patel, and a lot of communication and learning is going to happen. So over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll take this opportunity to welcome Ms. Kamal Patel. She's been an early educator since 1985. For over 3 decades, her objective has really been to raise happy, smart children with a healthy self-esteem. I think that's very, very important, especially in the pandemic time, is to look into how children communicate, how children are happy. Everything is now happening virtually. A lot of, children are not meeting. They're the worst affected because they're sitting behind a screen. They're not getting to learn at school. They're not getting to meet people. Their communication is limited to everyone via the screen. Of course, parents are also scared to send their children out. So I think this is where communication plays a very, very key role. And we have such nice young little children here. Hello, Bacho, how are you? All of these people, if by the end of the session, if we can tell them how to communicate a little more effectively, a little better, I think the purpose of the session, will be fulfilled. Welcoming Ms. Kamal Patel, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here. Esteemed principals, Naina, thank you so much for your kind introduction. I hope I'm audible because we are having some internet issues. You know how it is when you want things to go perfectly is the day when everything will go imperfectly. So we are having internet issues because of the weather, but I'm hoping that I'm audible. Such wonderful things were said about communication. And for me, it is such a privilege to be invited to speak here, since this platform is a tribute to the service and memory of Dr. K.K. Agarwal, a true humanist. So I am truly honored. Thank you, Naina, for giving me this opportunity. When I was asked to give the title of my talk, I deliberately chose building communication skills, because as we all know, communication is it's a vital and it's a complex topic. It's a multifaceted life skill that we have to build upon brick by brick. Now, communication can be verbal, it can be non-verbal as well as written. And in this session, I'm going to focus on verbal or oral communication. Clear, effective oral communication plays a major role in a student's academic success. So I am going to help to set you on the path to building good oral communication skills. I'm just going to share the screen with you. Give us a second. Very first slide. All right, I'm going to start, and whenever Archana manages to share the screen, I don't know why we are going to the last slide. Okay, there we have it. Tali bajao bacche. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start with are the 5 golden rules. And the very first one of them is know your audience. So to communicate successfully, you need to know your audience. So ask the question, who am I going to talk to? Are they my friends? Are they my acquaintances? Are they my elders? Am I speaking to my peers? Am I going to interact with my teachers? Am I going to deal with a very difficult person? Now, once you know that, then your next question should be, why am I seeking this communication? Do I need a favor? Do I want to ask permission for something? Do I want to express an idea? Do I wish to resolve a conflict? Do I want to make a speech? And finally, you ask yourself the question, what is the goal of this communication? Do I just want to win an argument? Do I only want to prove that I'm right? Do I wish to show how clever I am? Do I want my recipient to understand my point of view? Do I want them to cooperate and collaborate with me? Once you have the answer to all these questions, it allows you to plan your content, it allows you to choose your words and to decide on your tone. The second golden rule is time it right. In life, timing is everything. So once you've got your content, you've got your audience, you've understood your goal, the next thing to identify is the best time to connect. Because you will get far better results from your communication efforts if you engage with other people at a time when they are ready to engage with you. Here I want to bring in one more facet, consideration. Consideration is a big part of communication etiquette. So avoid disturbing people at odd hours. Even friends and family do not deserve to be woken up from their sleep. They do not deserve to be disturbed during meal times. It's best to fix an appointment or alternately message and ask if it's a good time to talk. Don't disturb people out of office hours. So don't keep messaging your teachers after school hours or on a holiday unless she has given you permission to do so. Don't you work hard on finding the right time when you want to tell Papa, Papa, मैं exam में fail हो गया. मम्मी प्रिंसिपल आपसे बात करना चाहती है. पापा पापा मुझे एक नया फोन चाहिए. When you want these, don't you work on कब बताना है, कब बोलूं, कैसे बोलूं, मूड कैसा है उनका. अरे आज गुस्से में, आज छोड़ो, आज नहीं बोलते हैं. Right? So timing is everything. So time it right. The third rule is watch what you say. Because what you say is often less important than how you say it. Now, here are some magic words to help you to make an instant connection. And actually, Anjuji, through her poetry, brought these points home very beautifully. That was a beautiful poem, and it really brought these points home. So here, from my side, here are a few magic words that will help you to make an instant connection. People love the sound of their name. So whenever you start a sentence, hey Rahul, please can you give me that? That's much better than saying, hey, can you give me that? Magic also happens when you start your sentence with thanks or thank you. So thank you all for working so hard. If we continue to solve 10 problems a day, you will do well in your exam. That's so much better than saying, solve 10 problems a day, others you will not do well in your exam. And I am saving the best for the last. Don't underestimate the power of yes. It's a simple word, but it's a very, very impactful word. I wish that I know that all of you are muted, but if all of you would just say yes, you will understand the power of this word. So if somebody says, hey, Rahul, can you please pass me your history notes today? Instead of saying, no, I can't, I have to study for my test. If he said, yes, of course I can, as soon as I finish preparing for my test. So the message is the same, but the delivery is different, and that will change the receptivity of the message. So all of you, yes, that's the power of yes. The minute you do it, the energy will just change in an instant. These are some hacks that allow your audience to respond favorably to you. The second point on this slide is don't assume it's done. I'm quite sure if I ask for a thumbs up, have you all heard of George Bernard Shaw? Have you all heard of him? A famous playwright, famous writer. We've always read about him, we've heard about him. And he once said, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. And he was so very right. Because how many conversations have you had where you said, but I told them, but still they didn't do it. अरे मैंने उसको कितनी मर्तबा कहा था, मैंने 10 मर्तबा उसको समझाया, पर फिर भी उसने नहीं किया. Don't assume that the communication is complete just because you finished saying what you had to say. And I always love to say, and that's why I've written tall in caps, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. To finish a communication, you have to close the circuit. There should be no leaks. Take feedback from your recipient. All great communicators, all great leaders will always say, I hope I have been clear. In case you need anything else, do not hesitate to reach out to me. In more casual settings, like if you're talking to your friends or you're talking to your students, you can always summarize with, so let's just go through everything once. Then allow the recipient to talk. That will help you to gauge how much of what you have said has been interpreted correctly. Like right now, when I'm addressing you, how many of us are we? 390 of you. My words are the same. My body language is the same. Yet I guarantee you that every single person who is listening to me is understanding differently. So taking feedback is very, very important, and it completes the communication circuit. The fifth rule, the fifth golden rule is review and reflect. So if your attempts at communication fail, don't blame your audience. Blame yourself. You clearly haven't conveyed the message in a way that your audience wants to hear at a time when they want to hear it, and in a manner that they receive it correctly. So review, reflect, and course correct. Those are the 5 golden rules of communication. Now I want to very briefly touch upon etiquette in verbal communication. Etiquette and consideration in communication helps us to develop good interpersonal skills. One of the most unpalatable styles of communication is the aggressive style. You're always late. We are all waiting for you. We are all going to be late. You're such a nuisance. Hamesha late aati ho. When you are this aggressive, the recipient just shuts down. And then you will look at the person, kitni dheet ho. तुम्हें तो कुछ फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता. हम सब यहाँ खड़े हैं. You're not at all bothered about us, because she has shut down. And she's become unresponsive, and you are going to achieve nothing through this communication. Instead, if you tried another tact, like, I hope you're okay because I was worried when you didn't come for a full hour. Or can we work out a system where even if you get delayed, it doesn't inconvenience everybody else? This tone, this delivery will allow the other person to explain their problems or to reflect on their own unpunctuality. And also, most importantly, they may come up with a solution that works. They can continue to be late, but no one gets upset and the relationship remains healthy. So watch your tone. That's very, very important. Now, I just thought I'll go through some very common, everyday, courteous phrases that set the tone for a pleasant verbal interaction. So if someone asks you, how are you? Or how do you do? Your response has to be, how are you? How do you do? That's it. You're not to tell them, oh, I'm okay, but I have a headache. My stomach is not okay. I've got a pain in my joint. This is a common courtesy. You just have to reply, how are you? How do you do? Would you like another roti? Our normal response is no. But the polite response is, no, thank you. No, thank you. And an even more polite response is, no, thank you. It's so tempting, but I'm very full. Would you like another roti? Our normal response, yes. The polite response, yes, please. Even more polite, yes, please. These hot rotis are superb. I really want you to internalize these responses because we don't use them often enough. Naina, is there a way for them to unmute themselves, or it's just something that cannot happen? Because I'd love to hear no, thank you, and yes, please.
Sapna, can you unmute everyone? Then later we'll have to mute everyone, otherwise you won't be able to speak.
I know, but if it's too much of an imposition, that's fine as well.
We can change that. If it's a disturbance later, we can change it again. Yeah.
Sure, because I'd love that participation. So come on, kids. I want you to say, no, thank you.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now I want you to say, yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay, that was great.
Thank you, ma'am. No, thank you, ma'am. No, thank you, ma'am.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. Please.
Thank
you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Sorry, you'll have to unmute yourself. You also got
Okay, here we go. So thanks, kids. I know it was a little chaotic, but it was fun. And I'm sure that now you're going to remember to say yes, please, and no, thank you. Archana, you'll have to share the screen a little bit. Yeah. I'm going to now move on to the art of public speaking. Right. So here we are, the art of public speaking. So very often as students, you will be called upon to go for an elocution competition, or to go for a debate, or to participate in a play, or to make a presentation at your assembly or before your class. So you will be called upon to speak in front of others. And the art of speaking in front of others is called the art of public speaking. And here are some useful tips. So there are 4 tips. I'm going to go to the very first one, Archana, if you'll point. It's clarity. Clarity. So assemble your thoughts very, very clearly. Make sure that the content that you have planned reflects your ideas, your message, and the information that you want to transmit. What I am doing right now is public speaking, and you have no idea how many times I've rewritten and edited my content to try and build clarity into it, to make it as clear as possible. The second tip, the second thing we have to look at is speed, the speed of our delivery. How fast we are talking, how slowly we talk, and whether we maintain a normal speed. So the speed of your delivery will depend on the type of your audience as well as on the size of your audience. So for example, if you're making a technical presentation to a room full of engineers, you can afford to talk a little fast. But if you're making the same presentation to a bunch of musicians, then you will need to slow it down. Thoda sa dheere. speed, not volume. And you can also adjust both volume and speed for your audience. So if you are speaking to maybe just 4 people in a room, then your speed can be a little fast and your volume can be low. But if you're addressing 100 people, then obviously you need to slow down your speech so that you are understood by everybody in that audience. And you also need to project your voice so that everyone can hear you. So that's speed and volume for you. Now we go on to emphasis. You need to emphasize on words to bring them to life. So for example, if you say, she always comes late and then we all miss the movie, it's not fair. Instead, if you say, she always comes late and then we all miss the movie, it's not fair. So now you have got your message across much more effectively, much more clearly. Okay, how do you do? How do you do? So use emphasis to bring life into your words, to make your talk interesting, to make the recipient actually receive your message. Emphasizing, enunciation, all of this is extremely important. And then we come to pitch. Low pitch, high pitch. Pitch comes with practice. If you talk in a monotone, then you will lose your audience. If you just talk like this, then nobody is going to listen to you. You need to vary the pitch. Even as teachers, teachers can't. Some teachers are more interesting than others because they vary the pitch of their delivery. They vary the pitch of their voice. I'm going to just read from a very small passage from Chicken Soup for the Soul, the teacher series. And I'm going to hope that this passage will illustrate my points. Okay, I'm going to start. Over the past 34 years, I've been asked many questions. How old are you? What's your favorite movie? But one day, one of my fifth graders asked me, why did you decide to be a teacher? That really made me think. I know that I've always wanted to be a teacher. A teacher is someone who challenges or influences the lives of others. For me, Annie Sullivan, Helen Keller's teacher, was the person. It was Helen's caring and determination that impressed me. I'm living my dream because of her. This is one way to say it. Now let me say it another way. Over the past 34 years, I have been asked many questions. How old are you? What's your favorite movie? But one day, one of my fifth graders asked me, why did you decide to be a teacher? That really made me think. I know that I've always wanted to be a teacher. A teacher is someone who changes or influences the lives of others. For me, Annie Sullivan, Helen Keller's teacher, was this person. It was her caring, it was her determination that impressed me. I am living my dream because of her. So which of these two deliveries was more interesting and more effective? Obviously, the one where you worked on the pitch, you worked on the volume, you worked on the emphasis, you worked on speaking clearly, right? The content was the same. Okay, so this is something that comes with practice. And if you actually say something, let's say read something out of a newspaper or a magazine and record yourself and play it back, you'll be able to hear how you sound. And you will be able to hear if your delivery is effective. One more thing is you must try and avoid fillers. Fillers like, oh, right, you know, okay, right? So let me say one sentence to illustrate this. Simple sentence. I don't think that you should go there. If you put in the fillers, it becomes I. Don't think like thinking that you should, go there. So here's a sentence with so many fillers that it becomes a very ineffective mode of communication. Now we all know that English to us in India is a foreign language. So it's okay. It's okay if we sometimes make mistakes. It's okay if we don't get it right every time. But because it is a national as well as an international linked language, and we are using this all the time to communicate with each other, it is important to try and speak it correctly. One tip that I always give my students is imagine or try to think of English as a round language. So instead of flattening all your words, you must try and round them. So instead of flattening your words, do try to round them. It doesn't matter which part of the country you come from. Just try to round out your words. It makes a lot of difference. It makes your speech sound a little more polished. Another very good hack that I have, and which works wonderfully, is for us to pronounce our V's and our W's correctly. It immediately polishes your language. So bite your V's and round your W's. Okay? So very instead of very, love instead of love, 5 instead of 5, wonderful instead of wonderful, what instead of what, where instead of where. So work on biting your V's and rounding out your W's. That also works well. Now, this next part that I have planned would work very well if we were unmuted, but I'm not going to go there because I do realize that to unmute 390 people is not going to work for the best. And I don't think that we can do 10 at a time or 5 at a time. This interaction does not allow it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just use the commonly mispronounced words. I'm going to go through the commonly mispronounced words. Can you see the very first one? Archana, can you point out, please? Pronunciation. Okay. This is pronunciation, not pronunciation. Pronunciation. Just imagine that there is a none sitting there, or you're going to have none of it. So pronunciation. The second word, biology. This is not biology. This is not biology. This is biology. Similarly, zoology, geology, photography. Try and get those pronunciations going. It definitely helps to improve your spoken English. Let's go to word number 3, DEVELOP. Often we pronounce it as develop. It is not develop, it is develop. Just imagine that there is an I, it's DIVELOP. Then you will pronounce it correctly. It's develop. Going to the fourth word, DELIVER is not deliver, but deliver. And the fifth word, CONTINUE. We often say continue. or continuation, but it is continue and continuation. Oh, here's something that I love. Archana, show us, please. Yeah. Pizza. How do we pronounce it? A lot of us say pizza. A lot of us say pizza. But we must really say pizza. It's pizza. It's an Italian word. It is not even an English word. So do remember one thing. English is a language that is made up of many, many different languages. There's Hindi, there's Italian, there's French, there's German. So the English words come from many different languages, which is why English is not a phonetic language. Like in the Devanagari, in Hindi, or in any of the Indian languages, Gujarati, they are all phonetic. The way you write it is the way you pronounce it. But English thoda tedha hai. All the words, it's very difficult to find a phonetic resolution to all pronunciations, but we just have to work with the commonly mispronounced words. So it's pizza, which we can have for BREAKFAST. Again, here's a word which we normally pronounce. A lot of people, not normally, but a lot of people say breakfast. मैं ब्रेकफास्ट में खाता हूँ या मैंने पिज्जा ब्रेकफास्ट में खाया. It is not breakfast. It is breakfast. Breakfast. Today we are very fortunate that we have Google, and I always call him Google Uncle or Google Auntie. All you have to do is type in the word and say pronounce. And you will be able to hear the pronunciation. And once you hear the pronunciation, all you have to do is practice it 40 times. Use it in a sentence 40 times and it will become part of your language. Okay? Moving on to something that doesn't smell very good but tastes excellent, and that's ONION. It's not onion, it's onion. It's not onion, it's onion. And finally, POTATO, potato nahi, potato. Potato. Okay? So these are just some of the words, and now we can go to the next 4 words. COUGH is cough and not cuff. And WEDNESDAY is not Wednesday, it's Wednesday. Just excuse me, I have some water, please. So it's Wednesday and not Wednesday. Please remember this. SUICIDE is not suicide or suicide or whatever, it's suicide. It's suicide. And we all know YACHT, but it's pronounced YACHT, but I mean, sorry, it's spelled YACHT, but it's pronounced yacht. So like I said, English ka koi bharosa nahi. There is no phonics. None of the rules of phonetics apply. It is a Germanic language. It is a language made from many other languages. So bahut hi teda hai. You have to learn certain things. We have one more slide. Yeah, Archana. So we just wait for Archana to unravel it a little bit. All right, here I've got groups of words. The first word, let's look at BEAR. Okay, it's an animal and we have to pronounce it. The way to pronounce it is bear. So it's an animal, and it's also, please bear with me if I'm talking softly, or please bear with me if I'm talking for too long. It's not beer, it is bear. And BEER is actually beer, which is a beverage. Moving on, TEST and TASTE. TEST is the test, the English test or the maths test, or it's a driving test. It's a test of your skill. It's not an English taste, it's an English test. And TAST is when you eat something and you actually taste it. When you taste it, that is TASTE. So please learn the differentiation between these two pronunciations. And finally, we have two words that look exactly the same. They are spelled exactly the same. So now why have I put them out there? CONTENT spelled in exactly the same way has two different meanings and therefore two different pronunciations. One is content. Content is the thing, all the stuff in the box are the contents of the box. Okay, the content of this talk is communication skills. But I am content with my family. I am content with my life. I am happy. I am satisfied. And that is content. So don't mix up the two. It's content and content, right? So these are some of the words that we very often mispronounce. And that leads to a bit of the polish in our speech delivery sometimes suffers because of that. Now, lastly, I want you to imagine that your talk is a 3-course dinner. So the first thing is the starter. So the starter is a strong beginning. A strong beginning sets the tone for the rest of your talk. It tells your audience that you know what you are doing. You have the skill set. They can expect an interesting interaction, and then they are motivated to listen to you. The main course is the middle. It is the essence of your talk. What is the information you want to impart? What are the ideas you want to share with your audience? All of that you need to work into and weave into the middle. That is the main course. And the dessert. The dessert is a good ending. It must leave the audience with a good taste in their mouth and a smile on their lips. You can inject humor, a funny anecdote, or a joke in the beginning with and at the end. So look at this next slide. And this will illustrate my point. Some humor, a little bit of a joke in your speech always makes it, in your talk always makes it interesting. So on the left or right, I'm very bad with directions. But here you find this little boy who's just looking at that book very confused because he was born in the age of the computer and the cell phone. And he's wondering, what do I do with this? And the mother says, just open it and read it. You don't need a password. And that's the joke. And of course, the one on the right is the straightforward person. They play on the word straightforward. This guy is the fellow you wake up to every morning. When you open your phone and there are like 100 forwards from this guy who is forwarding everything that comes to him without reading anything. Okay. And I can't read the rest. And everything that comes to him from all the other groups. So that is your straightforward guy. And straightforward has another meaning in English. A straightforward guy is a person who is honest, who is true, who is not going to beat around the bush, who is not going to try to do anything that is hanky-panky. That is a straightforward guy. But here's a play on the word. This fellow is straightforwarding you everything that comes to him. So that's how you can leave your audience with a bit of humor. I'd love to take some questions if there are any.
Thank you for this wonderful talk. We've got a lot of people who've raised their hands. Maybe I'll just allow them to speak.
Sure.
Manvi, you wanted to say something? Krishna from 7th E, you wanted to say something. Yes, Nanika, you want to say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you were saying that when we speak for some people, or like the thing you were saying, public speaking. So if we do it in front of our many friends, will that also be called public speaking?
Yes. So that's what I said right in the beginning, know your audience. So if you're just talking to 3 or 4 friends or 4 or 5 friends at a party, that is not public speaking. That's when you just decide, what do I want to say? How do I want to say it? Mujhe kaise? When you're talking to people who are very close to you, who trust you and who you trust, you don't have to put too much thought into it. You just have to keep the etiquette going, and you just have to keep your message going properly to them and close the circuit. But that's not public speaking. But if you're speaking in front, let's say your teacher says, please come and say a few words during assembly, and you're just talking to your class, all of them are your friends, but that is public speaking because you are presenting. You're not just having a conversation.
Manvi, you wanted to say something? Manvi, you'll have to unmute yourself.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Okay,
Okay.
Manvi. How nice.
Saksham, your hand is up.
Yes, ma'am. No, I wanted to ask on that, like you said, we should be polite. And so the problem is that in the starting we cannot apply that to our tone. And so how to make it in practice? And I wanted to ask that.
So want to know how to make your tone polite? Is that what you're asking me, Mana?
That's Saksham, yeah.
Yes. Sorry, Saksham. Yes. Is that what you're asking me? How do you make your tone polite? So you know, like for example, if you say, "Tu hamesha late aati hai, ye kya ho gaya?" So that's not a polite tone, right? But "Tu kyun late aa rahi hai? She koi problem hai kya?" That makes your tone much more polite. It sounds like you really want to know if there is an issue there. So you have to work on your tone. If you're aggressive, nahi mujhe nahi karna hai, main nahi karne wala, instead of I think abhi main nahi karunga, shayad main thodi der baad kar lunga. You know, the same thing you can say, but you need to keep your tone polite. And also you have to know who you're talking to. And why are you talking? Those are important things, but politeness is universal. You need to keep your tone polite. Use your pleases, thank you, sorries, pardon, excuse me. They never go out of style. And they always add politeness to your communication. Polite communication is more effective. Saksham, does that answer your question?
I think he's on mute now. Pankuri and Kritika Agarwal, you had a question?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm saying that I watched the videos of the Americans and people like that, and I've watched their videos so much now that I have learned their accent, and I talk like weirdish, and no one can understand what I'm saying. So, ma'am, what do I do about it?
But so right now I understood what you were saying, and it was not weird English at all. So where's your weird English? I want to hear it. Give me an example. Talk to me. What is this weird English you're using? Can you unmute yourself and give me an example? So anyway, here's a great, actually, that was Pankuri?
Yes, Pankuri and Kritika are sitting together, I think.
Pankuri and Kritika. So I'm so glad you brought this up, because I must tell you that accent and grammar are naturally set within the first 10 years of life. So if you are exposed to a language for the first 10 years of your life, when you pick it up and you speak like a native, because your accent will be right, your grammar will be impeccable. When you pick it up a little later, it is a little more difficult. So when you do it a little later, you need much more exposure. So what you have done is that you have immersed yourself into the American movies or films or songs or whatever it is, and you picked up the accent and you picked up the language, and that's a great way to learn language. Now, I really don't know why you're sounding weird. It may be sounding a little unnatural because if I suddenly say, hey, what are you doing? I need some water. Where are you going? Why can't you listen to me? So obviously it's going to sound a little put on. It's going to sound a little weird, but it's not that you won't understand me. It's just a different accent. So similarly, why don't you watch some British movies and why don't you watch some British programs like the BBC, and maybe you'll be able to come to a nice balance. Okay?
Kangna, can you unmute yourself? Kangna Goel.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your question, Kangna? Kajal, you had a question?
Yes, ma'am. I will say that you just spoke about.
Can you talk a little louder, Kajal?
Ma'am, I am saying that. Can you repeat?
Sorry,
We can't hear you, Kajal.
Lost that. Yeah.
We still can't hear you. Kajal, why don't you put your question in the chat box?
Let her type it out in the chat box. Yeah.
Any of our co-hosts have questions before we get to the remaining kids and then wrap up?
Is Mrs. Kamal ma'am. One
Yes.
question like that. Can you suggest a few activities that can be organized at any level, irrespective of the age of students, to develop communication skills? Any few, 1 or 2 activities?
Yes,
So
of course, of course. Yes, of course. I think what we used to do in the old days, I don't know if you remember, but at least I am old enough to remember that our teachers used to say, stand up and read a passage from this text or from a poem or from a story. So just reading from passages, learning them by rote, reciting them in class. Poems are great. Songs are a great way to teach language. So that's why we start with nursery rhymes with the very little kids, because when they learn the songs, they also learn the language. They learn the rhythm, they learn the cadence, they learn the pronunciation, they learn vocabulary. So a lot of things are learned through song. That's one tool that you can use. Learning poems by rote and reciting them, reading from the textbook, reading from a newspaper. Ask them to come out and read one piece, one item from the newspaper every day. It's great, and it will work, and it always works to improve your skills, your speaking skills. Elocution, it's called. And it definitely works. So organizing small debates and help a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Any others? So thank you. I'm going to Nena, but I would like to say that if you receive any questions in your chat box, and you can pass them on to.
Yeah. Kanak is wanting to ask a question.
Oh, sure.
I will just ask quickly if any of the co-hosts have any questions.
Hi, ma'am. Hi, ma'am. I'm Kanak.
Hi.
So, ma'am, I would like to ask a question that sometimes it happens with us that if we want to talk to someone, we talk with them, but they are not interested in our talks. Why does it happen? It happens very many times with us.
So, Kanak, you don't mute yourself. I want to ask you another question. So is it when you're talking normal conversation, are you talking about that, or you're talking about if you're making like a formal presentation? What are you talking about?
About formal presentation.
So what is this formal presentation? Like if you're giving a speech, you find people don't want to listen to you?
Yes, ma'am, they're not interested. Like if we speak speak about a topic, they do not
Yeah,
listen.
like what? Like,
Sometimes.
tell me which topic. Give me one topic.
Maybe someone is speaking about artificial intelligence,
Okay.
but the others do not listen to them, but they are not interested in them.
Right. So, Kanak, here it is. I today just spoke about verbal or oral communication, but communication also involves listening. And there is such a thing as active listening. And one of the courtesies of your audience is to actively listen to you. And I can understand that sometimes, and especially young people, don't want to listen to a presentation. They get bored very easily. It doesn't hold their attention. So bring in the humor, put in a little bit of a joke, change the pitch of your voice, and make your delivery interesting. Like today, I spoke to you and I'm looking at my watch. I think it's been almost an hour. But I'm hoping that a lot of you did find it interesting. But yes, communication is not an exact science. It is an art form, but it is not an exact science. It is never going to be possible that you're going to win over your entire audience. There will be people, no matter how hard you try, who will not be interested in listening to you, who will not want to engage with you. That happens, but we need to keep working on our skills of content writing and delivery. Okay? Make it interesting.
Anju ma'am, Ruchika ma'am, Sara ma'am, do you have any questions, or should we move on to the vote of thanks by Sara ma'am?
So I can.
Can I just say a small thank you before everyone else?
Yes.
First of all,
Because, sorry.
Okay. And Kamal ma'am, you presented nicely. I think I can say you have given even wonderful evening to all of us. And I think really, really excellent, I can say. I think we are expecting more from you. I think this 1 hour is not at all enough for all of us. And communication is the base to exchange our thoughts with each other. We understand other people's thoughts just because of communication. Once again, good evening to all of you. As all good things come to an end in life. On behalf of LK International School, I take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to this webinar on building communication skills, organized by Healthcare Foundation of India. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation to our today's moderator, Mrs. Naina Agarwal Ahuja. My sincere wishes to Naina's all future endeavors. I think definitely she will excel in her field.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So you called us today. I think it's really, we will be part of Healthcare Foundation of India, no doubt. And I extend my thanks to Mrs. Kamal Patel for her motivation and enthusiastic support. And we are expecting more sessions from ma'am. Okay. And we have been fortunate enough to be supported by a team of very motivated and dedicated colleagues. Dr. Anju Mehrotra, Principal, Kalka Public School, Alagananda, and Mrs. Ruchika Chaudhary, Vice Principal of Amrita Vidyalayam, New Delhi. Thanks a lot. And I would like to say that we all are most grateful to all the speakers on this auspicious platform today, and all the presentations even. I have also obligated to the parents and students. Not only parents and students, our dedicated teachers also attended today's session, and my sincere thanks to all of them. And your participation and suggestion always help us to go ahead. We thank you for being with us this evening, and it's a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. Yeah.
It was a great pleasure, I would also like to say. Yes, we really liked it. It was an excellent session. Good. Well
Thank
done,
you.
Kamalji.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you,
for
all
giving
of
this
you.
platform.
Very
Our
kind of
children,
you. I
teachers,
thoroughly
everybody could
enjoyed
come together.
myself.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much. We'll be back.